I said I wouldn't do Sailor from Gibraltar because Tony was. I felt that I needed to get away from Tony for a bit, for both our sakes, and told him that, which he was very shocked.
Yeah.
But then the next picture was The Charge for me. You actually came out to Turkey, didn't you? But again, Simon was on the set all the time.
Yeah, because again, Tony said, I want you to do the sound effects. I said, well, I can't do the sound effects if I do the picture. I said, I'll come out and, spend some weeks recording effects. Well, it was about a month, actually, different sound effects.
Pity you didn't do the picture. We had such a laugh.
Yes, it was. But I was there for the main battle, the main charge, and they dressed me up as a Russian soldier.
Really?
Yeah. So that I could get in the middle of the battle with an Nagra, and I was there, and I sort of took cover in a gun position with a horse. Unfortunately, in the middle of the battle, the horse decided it didn't like it at all. It kicked me and kicked the sort of trailer it was on as well. The Nagra went on the floor and all the rest of it. I mean, it didn't matter because it didn't actually show on the film, and I'd done the main effects. And at the end of it, Tony said, did that hurt you? I said, well, no, not really. He said, I thought it was very funny.
He would.
I said, well, it certainly wasn't funny whether it hurt me or not. I said, it was very worrying. But I was there for about a month. And what happened, you see, I used to go back and see the rushes and see what was needed and what the horses were doing and all the rest of it, and go out and record the horses in somewhere in Surrey or something like that, all that. And music, the military music, was quite late on that. It was very cold. We went and did it at a barrack. It was Aldershot. It was so cold, Tony wouldn't stay. So no, I can't, it's too cold. Get on with it. He went. So, but I thought it was a very, very good film. Everywhere, very moving.
Yeah. Stunning for film. I'm very proud to have done. We had the best time, and Tony was such a laugh.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because you knew him long before I did.
Yeah.
What about the beginning? You were talking about the music on the Entertainer, was it?
Oh, the Entertainer was absolute joy. I mean, it was his second film, and he was still sort of feeling his way a bit, all the rest of it. All sorts of things he did. I mean, I remember really that Olivia, for once, was not difficult. Something, whether he had the influence of Tony, or whether it was, I don't know, whether it was his affair with Joan Plowright or whatever it was, because they were both staying in the Midland Hotel, Morecambe, and we were asked to dinner with them from time to time, absolutely sworn to silence, of course, But he was remarkably good, because I had done that ridiculous thing about Beggar's Opera with Olivia, when it was total chaos.
That was booky, wasn't it?
Yeah. But he really was very good. Anyway, Tony decided that what had happened, they had recorded the music back at Shepperton with a sort of usual high quality film orchestra. And when we got to Morecambe, which was done in a music hall, and Tony said, this music is absolutely terrible. He said, what I want you to do is to record this proper. The orchestra was sort of part of the music hall. He said, we'll re-record the whole lot. I said, well, you know, it's a bit difficult. I can't do it without somebody's permission. He said, I'll get permission. You know? And we rang up, the production manager rang up Shepperton and said, Peter Hanford wants to re-record the music. I said, there's nothing, not what I want to do. I said, the director wants to do it. And the director of recording at Shepperton said, what on earth Peter Hanford doing now? Why is he also... Oh, well, get on with it. So, I mean, because of the equipment we had in Morecambe, it wasn't good enough to record music, so we had to send a completely new outfit up to Morecambe. So we did that and scrapped the whole of the original music, and it was obviously the best thing to do. And recorded it live up there. But he was absolutely, it's so funny. I mean, again, he said to, oh, it was Ozzie Morris, of course. He said to Ozzie, he said, I'm going to stay longer in Morecambe. I'm not going back to London. I said, I want to do this, that, the other here in Morecambe, instead of doing it back on the stage, you know, when I get to Shepperton. And the producer didn't like this idea at all. In fact, he said, you can't. He said, you've got to go back to Shepperton. And there was a great argument in the Midland Hotel in the foyer with Tony one side and the producer the other. Really swearing at each other. You know? And the producer said, well, if you don't do what I tell you, the money will stop. I don't give a shit, he said. and then he turned to Ozzie and said, what happens when the money stops?
Oh, that's sweet.
It was lovely.
What did Ozzie say?
But we got, you know, he did. He stayed on in Morecambe for another month.
Good for him. That's brilliant.
But he was so naive in some ways. Obviously, because he was, you know, Royal Court. He knew more about the Royal Court than making films. And there was a great march through. I can't remember the exact thing. Olivier had was going bankrupt or something, always seducing somebody, and it brought out newspaper journalists who chased Olivier to the house, and the door opens and Olivier sees these journalists and he says, fuck off, the lot of you. So, I mean, this is 1959,
Good.
you know. So I went to Tony, I said, well, you know, you can't do that. He said, why not? People say it.
Exactly. He's absolutely right.
I said, yes, but the censor doesn't
But he's
like
absolutely right.
No, I know he's absolutely right, but they had to take it out.
Really?
Yeah.